This book, our Constitution, protects our society and empowers us to govern. The protea leaves are us, the people, who freely elect our voices in Parliament. The drum calls the people of Parliament, through whom we govern together. And the sun is our country, healing our past, improving our lives, and energizing our potential. Together, our Constitution, our people, our Parliament, and our country are building our great South African nation. Parliament TV, Channel 408 on DSTV.
From the heart of the nation's democracy, where decisions shape our future and voices rise to build a better tomorrow, welcome to Parliament TV, your front row seat to the pulse of policy, progress and public accountability. Now we go beyond the chambers and behind the scenes, bringing you in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews and oversight in motion. Libito laka ke Tshepo More, and we are coming to you live from Parliament TV studios here in Cape Town on DSTV channel 408. And this is where every debate matters and every South African has a seat at the table. And because this is your Parliament, your voice, your future, join the conversation by following, liking and subscribing on all our social media platforms at Parliament of RSA. Now, mandated with protecting democracy, Parliament bears the responsibility to oversee the actions of the executive and improve public participation and involvement through its various portfolio committees. Oversight is a function granted by the Constitution to Parliament to monitor and oversee government actions. And today's focus is on the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, following oversight visits to various higher education institutions throughout the country. Now, the chairperson of the committee, Mr. Tebogo Letsie, joins us to provide insight into the state of readiness for the 2025 academic year, identified challenges, issues of concern with governance and possibly administration. Now, before that, let's get to know the chairperson just a little better. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much. My name is Tebogo Letsie, and I have the honor of chairing the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training. The first thing that we've agreed that will be a priority will be to stabilize the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. As you know that NSFAS has funded graduates, about over 5 million graduates. So it's a very big scheme. Currently this financial year there's a budget of around 51 billion. So it's a very serious scheme that carries the university sector in South Africa. The other issue that we're going to pay special attention to is to have our entities getting clean audits and the SITAs, but also making a meaningful impact because we also have the budget of the SITAs, which is very substantive, and we want to see the impact of that. We want to on the TVET sector, we want to transform the TVET sector. You know, countries like Germany, people don't really go to university, they go to TVETs. So we want to, at least when our term ends, would have pushed the TVET sector to be at that level, even though it might not be all 50 of them, but a number of them should be at the international standard that we want them to be. The first thing we're going to do, because we have about 8 new members who were not part of the committee before, will be to have a strategic session with the department, where the department will take all the members through what is it that they will be doing oversight on. All the entities, the department itself, so that members can understand the terrain that they're going to be working under.
Yes.
So that will be the first one, to equip members with information. The second one, obviously, we are doing oversight on over 100 entities. It's 26 universities, 50 TVET colleges, 21 CETAs. Then you have SAQA, CHE, you have QCTO, and other entities like NSFAS and all of that. So our sector is big, but we want to, including the department as well,
Yes.
want to, sit here and claim that before the end of our term, we would have interacted with all of them.
And that was the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, Mr. Tebogo Letsie, who is with us in studio to unpack more about the oversight that the committee has undergone. Chair, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thanks for having us, and good afternoon to the viewers at home.
With that, Chair, I think let's jump straight into it. Please just express to our viewers the importance of oversight.
Well, oversight is everything. It is our view that without oversight, we're going to create monsters in the system. There are institutions and people who are not used to being held accountable, and they do as they please. There's one institution I won't touch on their name today, out of the respect of this sitting, but which have got many cases where students can't graduate because somebody feels like they don't have to graduate, even when a court of law tells them they must go and reconsider their decisions. They don't do it. And this is just a small group of students who were able to go to court. There are many who can't go to court. We've got entities again who they spend money and they don't want to tell you how they use that money. So oversight is extremely important because it's done by an arm of the state that reports to the people, which is Parliament. So as members of Parliament, we have a responsibility to account to our people how their hard-earned monies are being used, that they pay through VAT or tax. So oversight for us is everything. We must live, we must breathe, we must dream everything oversight. Make sure that all the issues that we find there, we're able to communicate to our people. So without oversight, there's in my view, we don't have a country.
Now, Chair, with that then, having spoken about the importance of oversight, the committee had undertaken to go to the Northwest, Gauteng Province and Free State to look into institutions, into their state of readiness, governance and council issues, amongst other things. Now, let's focus on the state of readiness for the 2025 academic year. And based on the committee's observations, is the committee of the opinion that the institutions that you visited are adequately prepared to commence the 2025 academic year without disruption?
No, thanks. So we went to the Northwest very early in the year. Northwest has got one university and a number of TVET colleges. I must say that from a governance point of view, I was impressed with the amount or the level of detail that governance at Northwest University was, was being conducted. They understand. I mean, the chairperson of council he calls himself the Bure, the white Afrikaner man. And if you interact with people, they call him Mr. Transformation. And then you go to, the management there. They have a very new vice chancellor who's doing, you can tell that there's a level of coordination between themselves and other stakeholders. So we were confident that they were doing well from a leadership point of view, but there was serious problems with admissions. For an example, there where people would have drove from as far as Welcome, others as far as Pretoria, because they had received offers. And when they get there, they were told that their offers were taken by somebody else. So there were small challenges as far as that is concerned. These are the small things we need to deal with. They may look small, but they've got a big impact. When a student drives with their parents from Pretoria to Potchefstroom, it's about 3.5 hours drive. Yes. And they get there, somebody decides that because Tsepo Mori arrived first, let me put her in space of Tebogo, who has not arrived, but who has confirmed that is coming. And maybe we'll take 10 rands or 20 rands for cold drink. And these are some of the issues that are happening in our institutions. Yes. But they did try and push, because we went to the queues to speak to students, and we took their contact details, and then they came back to us and said we were assisted, which was very encouraging. But there are others who probably were not there on that day, who could not get our contact details, who we did not have their contact details, who may not have been assisted. So we can't rely on those that we can meet. Yes. Must rely on the system, affecting, these changes itself. We went to Klerksdorp, the Tibet College there, with a very nice, partnerships with the SITAs. For an example, they had a partnership with WNR SITA. Biggest problem is that when you have a big partnership like a wholesale and retail, you must not look at a small impact you can make. I mean, Klerksdorp is on the outskirts. You can't teach people how to pack groceries in a plastic, or how to operate a teller. They must think outside the box, and that's what we told them, that you have a big wholesale and retail is not wholesale and retail. In this day and age, you've got Temo, you've got big brands there. You can operate a warehouse, for an example, and this is what wholesale and retail does. You know how many people buy online, and when it arrives here, where do they pack it? How do they track it? How do you make sure that the package, when it arrives, it's able to send an SMS to the owner that it has arrived in Cape Town, we're ready for dispatch. So we told them that you can't have such a big sponsorship from WNR and look for packing plastics. You must look big, you must think big. Yes. I mean, the parts, can you imagine the parts of these German cars, when they come here, how do they track them? How do they track, where is it, how far is it arriving? All of those things is wholesale and retail. And we said, can you please go and think bigger than what you are doing? So, and then there were many others. We went to Gauteng. Our big issue in Gauteng, especially with Tshwane South and Tshwane North, was the issue of curriculum. Tibet colleges can't be teaching education that you can get at a university. For example, marketing management. Tibet colleges is technical and vocational. We want to produce artisans there who will be able to go to our townships and close potholes. We are not concentrating on those things. That is why our people are angry at home that there's no service delivery. We don't have people. And then, people who are supposed to, I mean, in the townships where I come from, there are people that I'm sure even where you come from, if you are like me, you come from a township, there are people who are known to be electricians. Every house that, if they extend a back room there for me, but these people don't have the papers. And that is where the city should come in to say, let's go to these townships, council us, get us these people that are known. Let's go train them, certify them.
Yes.
And then because we've got these buildings that are unused, that are now harboring criminals and Nyobe boys, you take them from a municipality, they donate to these people, you give them money to, you buy material of electrical things, you put them there. This is what TVET colleges should be doing with the sitters, you know. But Tshwane South, that was the problem, and Tshwane North, we did indicate to them that we'll have a discussion with the department about the curriculum of TVET colleges, because I think we have a problem. And then we went to Free State. Free State, when we arrived at University of Free State, for an example, Free State is accrediting accommodation themselves, and they had failed to accredit accommodation in Qwaqwa, where they've got a campus, and they were subjecting our students to live in squalor, to live in very bad conditions. We addressed those things. I remember when we went to them, it was on a Monday, and we informed them by Friday they must have went there working with the students and everybody else, NSFAS, to accredit accreditable accommodation, because NSFAS had just woken up at a week before, 2 weeks before, and released a statement that they're going to downgrade unaccredited accommodation. Just a right decision, but at the wrong time. But it affected a lot of students. And then we went to Moteo first. When we arrived there, at least they had a very nice choir which sang very well. We danced with it. We went to the skill center, the campus there that services seater paid more than 450 for. Very beautiful, but underutilized, because there were a lot of classrooms or lecture rooms that were not utilized. Their excuse was that some students are now doing work integrated learning, but you could see that there are no people here. Then we went into the meetings, engaged with them. Horror story where principals who had been accused for sexual harassment against students were kept on campus, and the students had to interact with them on a daily basis. And the excuse of a principal who's a female was that those who are accused are working on one side and the students are attending on one side. It's as if we don't understand the impact of sexual harassment. I've never been sexually harassed, but I can imagine. I mean, the impact it has on you, especially if you see your perpetrator on a daily basis. And then we went to CUT, horror story again. When we're there, we decided as the committee we're not going to engage, because there was just, things were not right there. And then we told them we'll bring them to Parliament, which we did. We went to Velcom, to Goldfields. Again, problems with lecturing staff, governance. We went to, just as an example, we walk and say, let's go look at the toilets of students, where females are supposed to utilize, and they're dirty, there's no toilet paper. And when you ask the campus manager, it takes it lightly, and we tell them, this is the dignity of the people we're talking about. You guys here, you are unable to account for millions of rands. You can't buy tissue for these kids. You're embarrassing, you're taking advantage that they're poor kids and no one speaks for them. You don't even buy them toilet paper. It doesn't make sense. Then we went to the other one, is it Bethlehem? Went to Bethlehem and Malute Pofung. Again, when we arrived there, the department had appointed the chair of council who's implicated in corruption at, what do you call this thing, University of Fort Hare. He had been arrested. A part of the 18 people who were arrested there is the chair of council. When we get there, it's a big problem. We went to the last one in Sosselbeck. We get there, the principal was transferred from another college, and because and that college was transferred because apparently there was a problem or a security threat on his life.
Okay.
Then he moved with his family, and then this side, when he arrived there, he hires the wife as the lecturer. You know, and the department doesn't know. You know, so yeah, that is. So on paper they gave us something, but when we get to the ground, we then realize that some of the many issues that they put there on paper are not really true.
Some serious challenges there that the chairperson has now highlighted. And of course, the conversation continues here with the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on Parliament TV, DSTV channel 408. Now, of course, I mentioned that the committee had undertaken oversight visits throughout the country. Take a look at how the presentations were to be presented before the committee during these oversight visits.
So today we have we're interacting with Goldfields Tibet College, and then in the afternoon we're interacting with the Free State CET. So Goldfields Tibet College, we have asked them to prepare a presentation on the state of readiness, governance issues, administration, a number of issues that we wrote to them. So they are going to present to us. Then after that, we are going to get a presentation from Labour. We also asked Labour to do a joint presentation on all of those things from a worker's point of view. And then from there, we'll get presentation from the Student Representative Council.
And that was the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, Mr. Tebogo Letsie, on an oversight visit in the Free State on the 26th of March 2025, indicating that the committee had required presentations from management, council, labour unions and Student Representative Council. Now, Chair, you've already alluded to the governance problems that the committee had observed. With that, did you encounter that some of these issues would lead to dysfunctional or even dissolved councils, or in a case where governance is at such a degree that things would just crumble when it comes to these institutions?
Yeah, maybe not to dissolving them, because remember, at the time when we did the oversight, the council were not fully established.
Yes.
So they were still awaiting the other members of council that they had written to the department about. So there were still 5 members awaiting 4 or 5 other members. So I don't think because these are new councils.
Yes,
it's just been appointed now in June, July. So they are fairly new. So some of the governance problems that are there are not created by them, as the previous councils whose term had come to an end. So I don't think we must even speak about dissolving them. I think they are fairly new. They are finding their feet, but they must find their feet very fast.
And talking about how new they are and how some of the issues are persisting from previous councils, what mechanisms has the committee observed then that these councils have put in place to ensure accountability and ethical governance within themselves and the institution and the councils themselves, particularly where historical governance issues persist?
Yeah, so many of the problems that they have there is not really the fault of governance. For an example, their positions at these institutions, TVET colleges, that the government structure called council does not play a role. For an example, you have certain levels of lecturers, certain level of leadership, like the principal, deputy principals, either of academics, finance, and all of that, campus managers, those things or those positions are not filled by council. They are filled by the department.
Yes.
So it's not really their problem. It's the problem that has been created by the department. What have we done? We have agreed with the department that they will come and present to us all of those issues that were found in all these 3 provinces. How have they begun to resolve them?
Yes.
And the first one, we said there was an issue, almost all TVET colleges we went to, where there was an issue of moratorium on filling in PL1 or PL2, which is lecturing positions. And that's what the principals know. And then the department says, no, we don't have such. So we said, on the spot, the department must, within a week after we're done in Free State, release a circular that says, if you've got the money in the TVET college, you've got space for lecturers, hire. There's no moratorium that says don't hire, because our kids, they are suffering.
Yes.
Instead of having 30 kids in one class, teachers are overworked. They must now do more classes, overcrowded classes. When would they return money to National Treasury in the 23-24 financial year of 580 million? So it doesn't make sense. So already we have started with them. So I know as I speak, they've been working with them. I mean, you know, when we interacted with CU2, for an example, the issue of foreign nationals who are hired at our institutions, it was raised actually when we were at University of Free State as well. It was raised when we were at Moteo. It was raised when we were at CUT. I know there's work that is happening. I wrote to the minister on the 2nd of April, and I said to her, by the 21st, she must give us a breakdown of, so that we don't deal with misinformation or, you know. So we must know, if we are saying at UFS, these are the number of foreigners we have. Is it within the 10% threshold allowed? Is it above? Why is it above? Which specific positions are they? Where they scarce skills? So we said they must do a whole table. So this is us, you know, already addressing some of the issues that were found at this oversight. Yeah.
And with that, Chair, of course, now we've spoken about management, we've spoken about council and the issues thereof, and how the department will now have to look into strengthening those processes. Let's shift to labor relations and staffing. Were there any labor-related disruptions or grievances that were raised during your oversight visits, especially with regards to the readiness, state of readiness for the 2025 academic year?
Yeah, labor raised a lot of them. I mean, the issue of understaffed or low number of permanent staff, for example. They raised it that way. They said at CUT, the university prefers to hire part-time staff. In fact, you have more part-time staff than full-time staff. That is on the other academic side. And then the second issue was the proper imbalance of academic versus you know, administration staff, where at CUT they behave like they are running a private company, because you've got more administration staff, 70% and only 30% academic, when you are running an academic institution. And then they also raise the issue of salary you know, differences, where those who are in the administration, they earn more than those who are in academic, when you are supposed to you know, run an academic institute. So there were a number of labor relations. Others were saying at UFS, you know, if you raise an opinion, or there were racially motivated dismissals, where if you are non-white or not white, if you are non-white, then you are treated differently. Your sanctions are harsher than when you are you're white. So So those are the things that we said the department must go, investigate, come back to us
Yes.
and give us. They also complained about the salary discrepancies between whites and non-whites, there to say if you are white, you are getting more for the same job, and if you are black. So the department will have to come and deal with those things with us.
And Chair, then with that, of course, these are long-standing issues related to staff contracts, to long-related issues, particularly in terms of outsourced services and temporary lecturers as well. You've mentioned that. Now, is the committee then of the view that there is sufficient alignment between the department and institutions regarding implementation of fair labor practices and wage negotiations?
No, actually we don't. That is why when we had Flavors Marega, we had a member of senior management who did not even know the policy that they're supposed to use to discipline people. So a worker a female worker complains about a male worker who may have harassed them sexually. And the person who's an HR who is supposed to defend the dignity, the rights of these female employees, well, all employees, but in this case, this female employee did not know the policy that he was supposed to do. That is why the person who had been accused was still at work and not put on temporary or precautionary suspension with immediate effect, because that's what their policy says. So it had to take the person from the department to explain it to that particular person. Very sad issues. But also these things are happening when the department has got branches that are supposed to be monitoring this thing. So when we interact, we've written to the minister to say, Minister, please, when these people come to report on this thing, would like you to come and explain how are you then going to do oversight over your department, because your department allowed these things to happen from the beginning, where people will just hire people on positions whereas South Africans had applied and were qualified for, and there's no consequence management. Your people do X, Y, and Z, there's no consequence management. So we want you to play now an active role in making sure that all of these things are covered, because it can't continue as it has.
Now, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, that's NSFAS, appeared before the committee on the 7th of May 2025 to provide an update in relation to resolving student appeals, funding decisions for the 2025 academic year, disbursement of funding and allowances in student accommodation. And this is what the chairperson had to say during his welcome during that meeting.
Deputy Minister Manamela is here. And then we have NSFAS who are here. They've introduced themselves. We have welcomed you congratulated you and welcomed you to your positions as the board of NSFAS. We wish you all the best. The task there is mammoth, is big. NSFAS is way too big to fail. It has produced, like I said before, in 2023, about 5.5 million graduates who ordinarily would not have seen the doors of higher education because of their social economic status, let alone graduate. So we want to create another 5.5. At least by 2027, 2028. So you've got a mammoth task there. We wish you all the best.
NSFAS is way too big to fail, and those were the words of the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training during a committee meeting on the 7th of May 2025, wherein NSFAS officials appeared. Now the conversation continues here with the chairperson, Mr. Tebogo Letsie. Chair, Of course, we've touched now on the oversight matters that you have observed. We've touched on management. We've touched on the state of readiness for the academic 2025 academic year. Let's talk now about the student experience and challenges. And of course, NSFAS is right at the center of this. With that, Chair, what are the challenges that students have raised during the oversight visits, whether it be academic, financial, or psychological?
Students raised a lot of issues. So many of them at the time, NSFAS had not responded to their appeals. Many of them at the time, NSFAS, they would have applied for a loan, and NSFAS was just mum. They didn't know whether they are coming or going. Many of them who were funded, were registered funded, were not receiving their allowances on time. So it was just a whole lot of issues, and institutions were saying to us, NSFAS owes us for school fees for this number of students from last year. Accommodation providers are owed by NSFAS from as far back as 2024. So there were just too many issues, which highlighted why it was important that the minister had to put NSFAS under administration. At the time was still under administration. In fact, we're under administration, and then halfway through the oversight, administration was ended and the board was appointed. So we met with the board last week, and we had to inform them that if you don't give your student that your system says you are funded, you don't give them their allowances, where must they get the money to eat from? And if they don't have money, you are now giving them creative ideas, you know, to survive. So they will go, if they are boys, Barbailo Panda, they will be stabbed, they will be arrested, and you have contributed to a social ill. Now this boy must now be in jail for just trying to look for bread. And we're not excusing criminals and say this because they were hungry. And then if it's a young girl who comes from a well-grounded family, but there's this boy who offers to give her food and wants something in return, you are putting this girl in that space. So they need to understand that even if it's delayed by 48 hours, it's 48 hours too long. If they don't pay these kids, I mean, they've not paid some of the accommodation providers, and some of the accommodation providers, I'm not sure if you remember, there were reports that there was one who was looking for sexual favors from female occupants of the house in KwaZulu-Natal, and he was saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to evict you. So you're creating a serious problem for these immoral, unethical people to look at these young girls now as women. You know, you're putting these young girls in a very bad position, and so NSFAS has got a big responsibility. They've got a huge task to turn that issue around. And you know, in the intro you saw I said the first thing that we want to do is to stabilize NSFAS, and we have not really moved from there. You know, some of us, it touches us because many of us will not have seen the doors of any institution, let alone to graduate from such institutions. So NSFAS has been a father, has been a mother, has been, you know, a serious financial aid to millions of people who come from, you know, a very poor background, and we don't want it to stop now. We have to help them to get to the right state of mind so that they're able to touch many lives.
And with that, Chair, then were there any recurring issues raised around the new NSFAS direct payment system, and how are they going to be addressed?
NSFAS does not have a direct payment system. NSFAS has got middlemen. And there were a lot of issues raised about this middleman because, and we told them in the meeting, actually when I started, I said to them, when these members ask you a question, just know that these members come from the constituencies where these providers come from.
Yeah.
Some of them, they socialize with them. Some of us, we go to church with them. So we know them, these people, and we know what you are doing. Some of them, you don't pay them because, or you call them solution partners. Your solution partners don't pay them because they, I don't know, they probably want to get at them for one reason or the other. So there were a lot of recurring issues as far as payments. There are people who have not been paid. I mean, I was written by a lady from KwaZulu-Natal wrote to me and said, I had an 80 bed. My family was surviving out of this 80 beds. But since 2024, NSFAS had not paid me. I owe the municipality this much. I can't service my bond at the bank. I took a loan to move my accommodation to the right standards of norms and standards. Now the bank is taking my property because NSFAS has not paid. And if you go and ask those people of NSFAS, why have you not paid, you will not get an answer. Because students were there, students were verified that they are NSFAS funded, but somebody decided not to pay. So there's two things here. One, NSFAS did not receive the invoice from these solution partners, or they received it and they paid, or they did not pay, or they received it and they paid. And if they paid to this solution provider, these solution providers decided to sit with the money and draw interest while somebody else is losing their property. And we keep quiet. It's as if, these business people trying to milk every cent that they can while somebody else is suffering there. So we are going to get to them. We told them we're going to have another meeting now. I think on the 18th of June we have proclaimed that we'll bring these people, we'll bring NSFAS, we'll bring these so-called solution partners. They must account because somebody now probably now stays in the streets. Their children don't know what they are going to eat because somebody decided to be greedy at the expense of somebody who was helping our students. So there's a lot of issues that recurred there with those people. That is why we said we're going to have another meeting with them.
Now, with that then, Chair, I know that within your discussions, you do include the department, you do include NSFAS and all other institutions that are relevant to that institution that you have visited at the time. Was there any discussion on mental health services or shortages within terms of accessing learning materials or digital tools?
Yeah, so the department has they've created an entity called Higher Health. This Higher Health was created as a result of a number of mental challenges that has been experienced within our university spaces. So their duty is to provide mental health to our students in institutions of higher learning. So it's as a result of an intervention from government, and indeed they were raised. But the department, needs to wake up because, when we were, for an example, at Free State, they were shocked that students were saying to us, we don't have a 24-hour clinic here. And when a female student gets pregnant, they take them away from where the clinic is near. They put him in an off-campus accommodation. And if complications happen there, they are further from any help. So it doesn't really make sense. When you ask the department, what have you done? They don't understand. They are shocked, but they are hearing this thing for the first time themselves. So the department needs to wake up. You can't have a situation. The reason why we've got different branches there, there's a university branch, TVET branch, is because we want specific DDGs with a unit, a big unit underneath to really work. But for now, look, it's a work in progress with the department. it's something that as we hold them accountable, we are going to ask the minister to crack the whip a little bit on them. So some of them are just too relaxed. I think it's this thing that I sometimes say that when we advertise for posts, we must not only look for academic qualifications. We must look at your moral qualifications, you know, your ethical qualifications. Do you understand that if you don't do this thing today, somebody else is probably sleeping naked, or probably giving in, or probably committing suicide because somebody is not doing their job. So we need to get that part when we advertise, that it must not only be academic qualification, moral qualifications and ethical qualifications must form part of those things, because many of our people in the department shame.
Right. With that, Chair, you always emphasize the importance of students. Now, were you and the committee of the view that SRCs are adequately consulted and involved within the school governance and the system as a whole?
No. So SRCs are critical a body, or SRC is a critical body in the life of an institution, because they represent the majority stakeholders at universities. That is the first point. And SRCs in most instances are not really, their views are not really taken seriously. That is why they will wake up after writing many letters to management and governance, they will strike. You know, they'll decide, you know what, let's go and strike because they are not listening to us. So you see, university council sometimes, where the student representative council sits, is a 30-member people, 30-member structure. Yeah. And then you will have SRC, there are only 2 there. Because elections are held every year for SRCs, in most instances they are the newest members. And they will be told, no, this one we've agreed about it in this term, so you can't change it. This is how we're moving. And that is why they get frustrated. I mean, decisions taken by somebody else on behalf of students. For an example, accrediting student accommodation. If students are going to sit there, when you accredit, that body must not be run by students, but must have students. Yes. And if the student, one of them that you have put there, does wrong things and takes charge from those people, remove them. But don't paint all students as corrupt and as immoral and all of that. So, but we also want to say to students, when you are put in these structures, represent your constituencies, which is the student. Don't take charge from somebody you know that the accommodation does not meet the standards, and then you want to put students there. Yeah.
Now, with that, Chair, finally, any final words, whether it be to the department, whether it be to the very students that have placed their hope in you? I know that a lot of students, they do engage with the committee, and they do say ever since the committee came to do oversight or have engaged with management, things have become better. Any final words to them?
Yeah, well, firstly to management of our universities. They must understand that we're a stakeholder. We want to work with them. Yes. In making sure that the system works for everybody else. We don't want, we're not policing them. We're not here to police them. We're here to work with them and making sure that the system works for everybody in the system. Yes. When you are a vice chancellor, you are the CEO of an institution. Your workers there are your service delivery agents. These are the people who are going to go and do work for you. And your students are your clients. So you must treat them as that. If you treat your workers well, they are going to work well. Yeah. If you treat your clients well, they are going to come back. So irrespective of who says what, if you treat your clients well, your clients are going to come back and do more. But if you don't treat them, they write to you, you don't respond, you deny them graduations. You can't explain why you are denying them graduations. Some of them are lucky enough that they'll be working. Yes. They take you to court. They win against you in court. And then they write to us and say, By the way, Chair, that case of those 2 students is not the only one. We were part of it. Then the following day, another one writes, me too, me too, me too. We will be forced to write to you and say, explain why don't you understand this. In South Africa, we've got something called South African Qualifications Authority. This is an authority that decides what is national qualification framework.
Yes.
And if you have this particular qualification, you are pitched at this level. And if they say to you as a university, Abudi Ndate, you don't understand this issue, who are we to refuse them? So that's one part to management. They must understand we're here to work with them. To the workers of this of our sector, they also have a responsibility to do what they are employed to do. If they don't do it, we are going to have problems because our students will not get services. You know, lecturers must teach these kids, must prepare these kids. You know, if they don't do it, then we are going to have serious problems. And finally, to the students, we want them to take the minimum time to graduate. So if a qualifications is 3 years, we're appealing to them to try and finish in 3 years. We don't have the money to pay for extra years. I know it's N+1 now, but we don't have. We've got many kids, many students who wants to access. So let's do it quickly. Let's not be troublesome. Let's not give our vice chancellors, our leadership problems. We understand that sometimes they create problems for the students. They, you know, lock them out. I mean, we lost a student. May his soul rest in peace, in Walter Sisulu. You know, last month, just because, you know, somebody went with a gun on campus, a university-owned house, owned by the university. You know, so we don't want those things to be happening. We want our students to go back, you know, to leave home, go to universities, TVET colleges, finish, come back, change lives of their parents, their lives, their communities' lives, and let's help each other, you know, in rebuilding the economy of this country.
Thank you so much for making the time, Chair.
Thank you very much.
And that was Mr. Tebogo Letsie, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, providing an update on the committee's oversight visits to various higher education institutions throughout the country. Now, the focus there, of course, was on the state of readiness for the 2025 academic year, identify challenges, issues of concern with governance, and possibly administration, together with NSFAS. Now, for more information on the work of Parliament and the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, please visit our website at www.parliament.gov.za. And to stay informed about Parliament's engagements, follow, like, and subscribe on all our social media platforms at Parliament of RSA, and have your say by joining the conversation and sharing your views on the issues relating to higher education. After all, it is your Parliament, your voice, your future. Thank you so much for joining us here on Parliament TV. From myself, Tebogo Letsie, and the team behind the scenes, take care.